Hey y'all, it's Leah. This is my reaction and review to One Piece chapter 1014. Last chapter, Kid saves Nami, Usopp, and Tama for Big Mom. OT is down. We get some Big Mom homie shenanigans. Zeus is quote-unquote gone. Luffy is falling from Onigashima. And Kaido is currently suffering from success. So yeah, things are getting more crazy, crazier than usual. But nevertheless, I'm very interested to see what happens next. Now, these past couple weeks or so has been rough for the manga and anime community due to the sudden news of Kentaro Miura's passing on May 19th, who, if you do not know, is the manga author for the manga Berserk, whose passing surprisingly affected me more than I imagined it would, because before his passing, I was just getting into Berserk months prior, and I slowly read up to 28 chapters into the story. And I was really getting into it, and I admire how detailed his artwork was and what he was trying to say with his story so far. But I didn't have the time to binge it back to back since I had school weighing on me during the time I got into it. But regardless of only reading 28 chapters so far, I had those moments where I felt like Miura was speaking to me through his characters and his art. So when I heard of his passing, at first, it was shocking, and I felt a bit numb since it was so sudden. And I remember it just took me back to when I was engaging with this man's work. Then later on that Thursday, I began getting emotional, and I even almost cried after seeing how hurt many people were after hearing the news. So May 20th was definitely a sad day, even for me being a new reader of Berserk. But I plan on making a whole video talking about Berserk as a story and the great aspects of Kentaro Miura as a manga author once I catch up to the current chapter. But since I don't know when that's going to happen or when that's going to come out, I'm going to go ahead and say, rest in peace, Kentaro Miura. You are truly a great storyteller and an amazing artist just by the little I've seen of your work so far. May your soul rest and your pain disappear. Okay, now that I got that off my chest, let us get into this new chapter and see what the hell is going on here. So if you're interested in my reaction and review to this chapter, then sit back, relax, grab your snacks. And without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, I know I said in the intro that this is going to be a reaction and review, but I recorded this earlier last week. I ended up being really busy these past couple weeks with life stuff, so I just decided to go ahead and read the chapter on my own and just do an in-depth review. So sorry for the confusion. Now, let's get into this review. So this chapter is called A Lifelong Ham Actor, and this obviously points to Kanjuro, who was a big focus for the ending of this chapter. We get a cover art request of Law with a tiger coming out of a painting so that he can grab his food. This art request is inspired by a Japanese folktale, which I found really cool to learn about, but regardless, I really like this art request simply because I'm a Law simp and I personally love tigers. And I already know people are going to use this to speculate even more about Yamato possibly being a white tiger for the devil fruit. But I just think this is a simple cover art request based on an old Japanese folktale. But hey, it can very much be an Oda coded hint. You never know with that man. Based on Kaido's dialogue in the beginning of the chapter, I took away these main things. 1. Luffy has to learn how to control his Conqueror's Haki in order to defeat Kaido. 2. Luffy was probably going to use a new attack before he KO'd. And 3. Kaido knows about frickin' Joy Boy. Now, I think Luffy's key to defeating Kaido is learning how to properly control his Conqueror's Haki so that he can get the advantage over Kaido, because Kaido has been coding his attacks in Conqueror's Haki for God knows how long. So compare that to Luffy, who just figured out how to use it moments ago. It's no surprise that Luffy didn't last too long against Kaido in a 1v1. So whenever Luffy learns how to properly control it and use it effectively with his Gummo Gummo attacks, then he can possibly get that one up on Kaido. I think Kaido not finishing the Gummo Gummo no phrase means that Luffy was about to do a brand new move. So I'm curious if the Gummo Gummo no Luffy was about to use is going to be a new technique or move that we'll see when Luffy bounces back. I really hope so, because it's about time Luffy develops some new moves. So I wonder just how much Kaido knows about Joy Boy and if he learned about him when he was on the Rocks crew. The concept of Joy Boy is such a mysterious but interesting plotline in the One Piece story, so I can't wait to learn all about him whenever Oda is ready to reveal it to us. And the fact that Kaido knows about Joy Boy himself was such an amusing surprise, and this makes me wonder just how much he knows about the secrets of the One Piece world. Oh, and side note, Kaido had a couple of damn good panels on page 3. I swear, Oda never fails to make him look really intimidating. So on the last double page spread, it looks like Kaido one-slammed Kiyomon because his swords broke from that attack, and it's a direct hit from his Konobo. So yeah, looks like Kiyomon is now Kia gone because that man was already significantly damaged from his first encounter from Kaido, but after that attack, I don't know, man. I do wonder where Kaido goes from here since he's on the first floor now. I thought Oda was gonna make the Yamato and Kaido confrontation happen, but Yamato's on the 3rd floor, so hopefully somehow, some way they can meet because I personally think that needs to absolutely happen for both of their characters. Speaking of Yamato, the chapter focuses on them for a quick moment. There isn't anything too crazy going on with Yamato this chapter, just them kicking ass. But besides their usual I'm Odin phrase, Yamato's dialogue before that makes me realize something. Yamato says, "I'm not a prisoner anymore, I am Odin." So this sort of tells me that Yamato views Odin as ultimate freedom, and since Yamato read Odin's journal, they know just how free Odin was during his adventures. So in Yamato's mind, Odin is the prime example of freedom, so Yamato saying they are Odin after telling the father that they aren't a prisoner anymore could mean that Odin was Yamato's way of attaining freedom while being locked down on Onigashima basically all their life. So I'm starting to understand Yamato's fixation on Odin a bit more. I still want Yamato to learn how to be their own person and not hide behind their Odin persona by the end of this arc, but at the very least, I'm beginning to understand Yamato's character so far. So hopefully we can get exposition and background on Yamato and a confrontation with Kaido in future chapters. It seems like Odin wrote something about the Kozuki clan, or Momo specifically, in his journal that will make Momo say that he can't afford to die. So I don't know if we'll find out what he read that will cause him to say that, but I'm glad that Momo is reading about his father's adventures and his personal thoughts when he was alive. And I think Momo is either hearing Zunisha or one of the Sea Kings with his voice of all things. I don't know if whoever is talking to him is going to help out for the raid, but whatever it is, it's trying to tell Momo something that could possibly help out the alliance. So I don't know what Oda has planned for Momo and this voice of all things stuff, but I feel like it's going to come into play real soon. Chopper was pretty damn impressive this chapter with him being able to slam Queen into the wall, but it seems like Queen isn't being affected by it too much, so I wonder if somebody like Sanji is going to help out Chopper, or is Chopper going to have to find a way to get a one-up on him and inflict some major damage. But for right now, Queen got a chomp on Chopper, so my boy has to find out something quick before he gets bodied. It seems like Sparrow intends to slow the Alliance down since he's shooting arrows to Chopper and the Samurai's backs. I think his current role is to be the one-man chaos starter until Cat Viper confronts him. So I wonder who exactly is going to stop him, and if Sparrow tends to harm Marco next due to what he said back in chapter 1006. I love the double page spread of Bao announcing that Luffy has been defeated by Kaido and that he's sinking in the ocean. I really like how Bao's role is being the Beast Pirate's constant updater and speaker, and I would love to know more about her background in the Marys, especially since it seems like she's the leader of them. But just seeing the Alliance's various reactions while cutting to Luffy singing was pretty impactful when I first saw it. Like, I had to spend a few minutes on this page because I felt like I was actually there hearing the news along with everybody else. So out of all the pages, this double page is my favorite moment in a chapter, and even though I think the Straw Hats will continue having faith in Luffy, seeing the Alliance worry expressions really adds to that uneasiness factor. Now we get a glimpse of the Who's Who versus Jinbei fight, and while I'm glad Oda updated us on how the fight is going, I wish he would dedicate at least half a chapter or a portion of the chapter to showing us this fight. My biggest fear is him focusing on it during the end of it, or he skips it altogether. So I really hope we can focus on them in a future chapter before it's too late. Tama crying over Luffy broke my heart because we all know that she definitely sees Luffy as this great, powerful big brother figure that can do anything. So for a kid who has this innocent faith in someone she looks up as a big brother figure, to burst out crying hearing the announcement of his defeat is so sad to see, but also very appropriate for a little girl like her. Sanji and Zoro are obviously against submitting to Kaido, so maybe one of them can rush over and try to save Luffy. More likely Sanji, since Zoro is busy healing up. And like Kaido mentioned last chapter, people won't lose faith in Luffy unless they see his dead corpse for proof. So I definitely know that Zoro and Sanji are not going to back down, and believe that Luffy will bounce back from this. And not just them, but the rest of the Straw Hats as well. Hopefully Kanjuro is actually dead this time, because I feel like his character fulfilled his purpose for the story, so him turning out to be alive after this will definitely make him overstay his welcome. But if this is his actual death, which I think it is, I have to admit it was pretty impactful that Kiyomon was the one who took him out, even though I wish Kiku was the one who killed them and put her emotions to the side. But the fact that Kiyomon, who saw Kanjuro as his best friend, was the one who ended his life was pretty darn good. Especially since Kanjuro this whole time was playing a role and only was buddy-buddy with Kiyomon because he was quote-unquote performing on stage. So yeah, I like Kanjuro's death speech and how Kiyomon was still emotional about killing him despite the major betrayal Kanjuro pulled after all of this time. I have to admit I really enjoyed that part. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm frustrated that Kiku let Kanjuro emotionally manipulate her again, especially since she said 2 chapters ago that she was definitely going to take care of it next time. Like, you know that's not the real Oden, so why are you being fooled just because he acted as Oden and said that he practically raised you and Izo? Like, I love Kiku, and I like how she is a very empathetic and emotional person, but come on now, she needs to learn how to lock her emotions down when the situation calls for it. I know Oden meant so much to her, but she needs to know that Oden is dead, and any illusion of him is obviously not him. And what kind of sucks is that I don't know if I need to be sad about her quote-unquote death this chapter, because with Oda's track record with Pell, Pound, and even Hyogoro, I don't know if Oda is being legit with Kiku's quote-unquote death, or if her getting stabbed would just hurt her significantly for the time being. And that's the problem with his fake out deaths, because it's to the point that he conditioned his readers to not get too emotionally invested into possible real deaths, because part of me is still expecting Kiku to still be alive in a few chapters, or at the very least by the end of the arc. Now, if Kiku isn't shown for the rest of this arc, and the end of the arc shows her tombstone, then that's when I'll be like, oh shit, Kiku's really dead, and most likely cry over her. But right now, I can't get too sad or emotionally invested because Oda conditioned me to see these possible real deaths as potential fake outs. We all know Oda can be a softie when it comes to killing off characters, unless the plot really calls for it. So due to characters like Pell and Pound and even Hyogoro turning out being alive, it restrained me from truly feeling for Kiku's potential death, and possibly even Kiyomon's death if he died from Kaido's attack. And I can understand why Momo got emotional over the fake Oden, because not only is that his father, but remember, Momo hasn't seen his father's death. He just got word that his father passed. So I can understand why Momo got emotionally manipulated. But why did Shinobu, who saw this man boil in a pot, get fooled to think that Kanjuro posed as Oden was actually Oden? I mean, she didn't really see him get shot in the head, but she knew that he was dead even back 20 years ago. So for her to get fooled to think that was Oden just makes me question most of the retainer's sense of surveillance. Like, if I remember correctly, Ashura Doji and Raizo were the only ones who saw through the BS and were alert. So I just wish that the rest of the retainers were more alert and cautious like them. So yeah, that part has me a bit mixed about the ending section, but it didn't ruin the chapter overall for me. Onigashima is beginning to head above Wano, so I think it's not far-fetched to start thinking that the raid might actually fail. Now, if the raid does fail, I don't know how Oda is going to execute the rest of this arc, but if the raid does not fail, then I'm really curious to know how Onigashima is going to be stopped from dropping onto Wano. Also, side note, where the hell are the rest of the Big Mom pirates? Like, we haven't seen them in God knows how long, so I don't know if Oda is saving them for the end of the arc or another arc, but my goodness, it hasn't been a minute since we've seen all of them. Overall, I enjoyed this chapter for the most part. It was just how Kiku handled the Kanjuro situation, and the fact that Kiku might not actually be dead that has me a bit mixed about the ending. But besides that, this chapter was really good, and it's starting to look like the raid might actually fail, so I'm both anxious and excited to see what happens next. But anyway, let me know how you felt about this chapter. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or do you have mixed feelings about it? Also, let me know your favorite moment from this chapter and your predictions for the next chapter. If you enjoyed this video, then it'd be really cool if you no like that like button, because you really help your girl out. Please subscribe for more One Piece related videos in the future. Hit that bell notification so you can always be notified whenever I post. Links to my socials and Discord are in the description box below. Please stay safe out there, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!